Alabama, the state Supreme Court has ruled frozen embryos outside of the womb are children, and that could impact the future of in vitro fertilization in the state.
ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
An unprecedented ruling out of Alabama's Supreme Court, now determining frozen embryos qualify as people under its state law, saying unborn children are children without exception based on developmental stage. The decision could put families access.
Okay, if they're saying children are children no matter the developmental stage, talking about embryos and like that, does that mean that a sperm cell and an egg cell should also be considered children? Because that's still part of the developmental stage, and Alabama considers anything, no matter the developmental stage, to be considered children.
To fertility treatments in the post-Roe era at risk.
We have kind of what is just a brand new landscape for the law.
The ruling stemming from a case involving a patient who somehow accessed a freezer storing frozen embryos at an Alabama fertility clinic. The patient picked up multiple frozen embryos and mistakenly dropped and destroyed them. The state's high court says that patient can now be held liable in a wrongful death lawsuit.
We're concerned that this ruling has
So the person is going to be held liable for wrongful death of like how many embryos? It's pretty wild here, because then this means that if a doctor creates several embryos for a single patient, they're going to have to implant every single embryo into that patient, because they can't destroy said embryos because they're kids. But the doctors also can't freeze these embryos because the embryos are kids, and you can't freeze kids because that's not legal, because freezing kids kills them, and you can't kill kids.
far-reaching consequences for what we feel is safe to freeze and safe to discard.
In 2021, more than 238,000 families in the U.S. relied on in vitro fertilization, or IVF, to have a baby. As part of routine IVF, multiple embryos are often frozen to increase the likelihood that one will successfully implant.
At this point, there is no decision on when a physician or a clinic can conclude storing these embryos. So they are potentially liable for the wrongful death of an embryo after the parents have passed.
Some doctors worry the
Okay, if kids are kids, no matter the developmental stage, does this mean that men have to like store their seed if they decide to masturbate? I mean, what are men in Alabama supposed to do about that? I mean, anytime you masturbate and ejaculate, you're producing kids, since, a sperm cell is part of the developmental stage, and that's considered a kid. If you don't store them properly, I mean, you're killing them, and that means you're killing kids. And that's millions of kids being killed. That's millions of counts every time.
ruling could make IVF less accessible by making it more expensive or causing some clinics to close because of legal risks.
Because this ruling is so incomplete, and it leaves those of us who are sitting face to face with patients just with the inability to comment on what is safe and what is legal for them.